Na 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 na. You're disgusting. I like that in a person. Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way to review a really exciting release that I'm pretty sure came out last year in 2023. A Blu-ray release that is very, very welcome, and actually I'm pretty sure a 4K of this title actually came out at the same time as this Blu-ray release, but me not being in the 4K game, I simply got the Blu-ray release. And incidentally, I did get it during a Kino Lorber sale. I'm pretty sure I was able to get this for freaking $10, which is amazing considering it's a 2-disc release that contains 2 versions of the film, a version I've wanted to see ever since the 90s when I first saw the trailer, and then after I saw the movie I'm like, wait a second, that shot of the car, going off the jump and, flipping over, and that shot of a couple of shots of Leland Garnt, the one in the flames and the other one, there's a bunch of shots in the trailer that aren't in the movie. And I just wondered for decades about that, and wow, in 2024 when I finally was able to get this release, it was just amazing to be able to see the television cut, the 3-hour long television cut, an hour longer than the theatrical version. Anyway, stopping on by. Now, I basically reviewed the movie, I think it was 6 years ago. I've already reviewed the movie, so this will simply be a Blu-ray release. Stopping on by to review the absolutely amazing Blu-ray release that came out in 2023 by Kino Lorber of Needful Things. I can only assume this had been on Blu-ray before 2023. If it had, I never had a Blu-ray version of this. I first got it in the 90s on VHS and then got a DVD somewhere along the line. This is my first Blu-ray of the film. As we can see on the back here, brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. As we can see, the special features, audio commentary by the director, moderated by that guy. The thing I think is really one of the cool, standout, amazing aspects of this release is the inclusion of the 191-minute television cut of the film. You can also see The Devil is in the Details interview with the screenwriter, which I didn't watch, and theatrical trailer. The main reason I actually got this release is because of the inclusion of the 3-hour long television cut. I gotta tell you, I mean, it's like watching, it's so weird because the film, obviously, as it came out in the theaters and existed on home video up until now, existed in this 2-hour long version, and it's so strange to be able to see this 3-hour long version that adds an hour to the already 2-hour long version. It's so weird how it takes kind of a movie and kind of turns it into like a mini-series kind of a thing or something. Admittedly, it's like way too long, and a lot of the scenes, the extra scenes that were excised into, to become the theatrical cut, I very much understand why they were. The movie, the 2-hour long version plays absolutely fine, but it was absolutely amazing to see the way this movie originally opened with like the car chase with the Mercedes-Benz, the Leland Garnt Mercedes-Benz as it kind of came into town or whatever. And hopefully someone put the opening of this, this television cut, the opening scene on YouTube or something, or just buy this Blu-ray release just to see it. But the one thing that I think is a shame that isn't included in the theatrical normal version of the movie is the way it originally opened with this kind of car chase with the Mercedes-Benz leading to it, going off the jump and wrecking, blowing up, and seeing that, apparition through the flames of the smiling Leland Garnt and stuff like that. The opening part of the movie was a lot more exciting than the movie, the version we're all familiar with is. Not to say that the version we're all familiar with isn't fine as well. It's such a strange situation where to be able to see this different version, this 3-hour long version of the movie, it's a little bit of a bummer that the 3-hour long version, of course, as it is the TV cut, has to have the swear words altered and changed and stuff, and I guess it kind of adds a layer of of humor to it, and also the fact that, you know, it's obviously standard definition, which is kind of a bummer. It makes one wonder if that's the only way the footage exists, like if the actual film elements for the TV cut are, you know, the extended or the extra scenes are gone and all this kind of stuff. It'd be really, really amazing if someone, which will probably never happen, if those, you know, elements existed to go through them and create the 3-hour long version with swear words intact and all this and that. But admittedly, I think, you know, it's fair to say the best version of this movie is the 2-hour long version. The 3-hour long version I couldn't even watch all at once. I had to do like, you know, the first 90 minutes and then the next day finish it, do the second, you know, do the other 90 minutes. It's quite long, and but it's just so cool to see, you know, different, just to see the world of the 2-hour long version of Needful Things just opened up another hour, and see, you know, character bits and pieces and this and that, and we get to see, you know, like the budding romance between the Ed Harris and Bonnie Badella. There's a Bonnie, I think it's something like that. Bonnie, what the hell is it? Yeah, Bonnie Badella or whatever. To see more of that budding romance and all kinds of stuff. But it's just fascinating to see the 3-hour long television version. So that, you know, is obviously presented on its own disc is the main reason I got this. But a good secondary reason is, and like I say, if a Blu-ray version of this existed before now, before this release, which I can only assume it did, I obviously, since I never saw that, if it exists at all, if it existed at all, I can't comment on that. But as far as the Blu-ray quality of the actual new 4K scan of this, you know, the normal theatrical cut on this release, oh mama, I was very surprised. And I was like, you know, I don't have 4K, I've just got Blu-ray. But even just with plain old Blu-ray, this is a really, really, really sharp, you know, movie or presentation of the movie compared to the DVD I got. Grain is very, you know, I'm a grain guy, as you guys may know, and the grain is very faithfully reproduced and wonderfully intact in this Blu-ray presentation. Image is not too sure one could ask for a better image than this, and it kind of makes me wonder what the 4K version does look like. But alas, you know, I'm not really interested in getting into the 4K game until I have to. But Blu-ray, just standard Blu-ray, does just fine, just well enough for me at this point. Perfectly happy with just the Blu-ray video presentation, because I'm of the age where I first saw this and first owned this on VHS. So the Blu-ray version of the new 4K scan will do just fine for me. Got 2 main audio tracks with this release, just standard 2-channel stereo surround, and then a 5.1 version. I was able to actually watch the 5.1 on a 5.1 surround receiver, and it is really, really good. A lot of times with an older title like this, I try to remember to go to the right or the left to see if the dialogue bleeds over. I think the dialogue is more or less, you know, really nicely centered in the center channel, and I know with 5.1 remixes of early 90s films, it could be hit or miss. You know, the 5.1 track on this release is actually pretty strong and feels more or less like a, you know, I didn't do a lot of scrutinizing, but it feels more or less like a genuine kind of more 5.1-ish track versus like some kind of 2-channel Dolby surround, just kind of with that's masquerading as 5.1, which I would imagine most of, well, probably all of the Full Moon Blu-ray releases and DVD releases that are 5.1 or probably are. I know that, you know, when DVD first came out, it was a lot of this 5.1 of, you know, just titles that were like originally mono, and you know that, and it put out by just these nothing labels and distributors, and it was just like this, just a gimmick. It wasn't any kind of 5.1 of any, you know, competence. It was just like this half-ass surround made from a mono movie turned into half-ass 5.1. It was kind of a sham what was happening in the early years of DVD's life, but 5.1 versions of movies from late 80s or early 90s can be hit or miss, and I can't imagine that this movie was like originally in any kind of 5.1 or whatever. The 5.1 has to be more or less a redo or something, or a 5.1ing, if you will, of already existing like 2-channel track, I can only assume. But at the end of the day, the 5.1 track on this release is pretty thunderous. The explosions are nice and thunderous, and the music is really nice in the surrounds, and it's an all-around pretty decent, pretty wonderful 5.1 experience. I was lucky enough to get a slipcover with the one I got. You know, you don't necessarily know if you order after 2024. If you know, it's hard to say if you'll get a slipcover. Slipcovers aren't not that big a deal at the end of the day. But one thing I do like about the recent Kino Lorber slipcovers is, unlike the Kino Lorber spines of the actual Blu-ray itself, the slipcovers retain the logo or the font of the actual movie, which is appreciated. I just wish they could do that on the spine of the DVD case as well. As you can see, this is the standard Kino Lorber font across the majority of Blu-ray titles, which I don't find to be particularly amazing, but it's just what they chose to do. Underneath the slipcover, you've got this. It's basically probably, I don't know if this is the theatrical poster artwork. You know, the slipcover is probably more likely the theatrical poster. This for sure I know was on the first VHS that came out in the 90s. I don't know if this is on the DVD I've got or not, this cover, but this is basically, since this was on the VHS cover in the 90s, this is basically the cover that I associate with this film. Glad to see it is represented underneath the slipcover on this Blu-ray release. Two discs here, of course, theatrical cut and the television cut of Needful Things. Like I say, man, if you haven't seen the television cut and you're a moderately big fan like I am of this movie, you really owe it to yourself to see the television cut with any luck. Some kind soul put the TV cut on eBay. I can say this, on YouTube. Hopefully, if it's not on there already, someone will put the television cut on YouTube. The fact that it's a TV cut means there ain't going to be, you know, gratuitous nudity or anything, or even swear words or anything. It'd be perfectly YouTube safe, but I think even the normal R-rated version of this movie unfortunately doesn't have any gratuitous female nudity. Guess that pretty much does it for this Blu-ray review. I was so excited to be able to get this two-disc, different version of this film released for freaking $10 on a recent Kino Lorber sale. Can't really recommend this Blu-ray release enough, especially if you're a big fan of the movie and never seen the 3-hour television cut. It's really something that should be seen. It's just kind of, you just watch it and you're just like, oh, it kind of explained, it delves a lot more into, you know, the character Bonnie Bedella's, you know, freaking arthritis situation, and it's a really interesting exercise in seeing like what is needed to get ideas across. Like I don't know how much time, it seems like a lot of time of the early parts of the movie are, you know, dealing with her arthritis and stuff, and the way it is her arthritis is handled in the theatrical cut is like, it's not even mentioned until maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes into the movie, and that way, the way it is in the movie works absolutely fine, but it's interesting seeing them just dealing minute after minute after minute, just kind of you know, going on and on and on about the arthritis and other details as well. It's crazy because we get to see the is it Brian Rust, the teenager kid or whatever. I think he's supposed to, I think they say he's like 11 or 12, but I think he seems more like 13 or 14. But you get to see his mom, and his mom is obsessed with this Elvis bust. They show like more people and more of their Needful Things and stuff, and it's just like, even in the theatrical cut, there's enough of people and their, you know, different people and their, you know, various Needful Things. Like, man, it's that woman must have been so disappointed, because she's a main character, the Brian Rusk's mom, the Elvis obsessed woman. She's a main character in the TV version, and the theatrical cut, you just see her like at the bar a couple times, and then like someone hands her the chainsaw when everyone's looting and blowing up the town at the end, and then kind of runs away, and she's standing there in her Elvis, you know, clothes, just with her dumb sunglasses on, holding the chainsaw. Like, it just must be so disappointing when people are in a movie and then they see the movie and they're not in it at all or barely in it. It's just like, wow. But it's really an interesting exercise to see this 3-hour, long version, and to see, like, God, how much more was in there that they just cut out. It's just so strange to me, and it makes you wonder how many, how common it is to film. It's probably more common than we know that movies just film and film and film, and you hear so often about 3-4 hour long versions of movies that end up being like under 2 hours long at the end of the day. Like, is this a normal practice? You'd really think you'd be able to get the movie to what you wanted it to be on the paper or a computer or whatever, like, it's just so strange to me how there's so much filmed and so much money wasted only to just, like, completely, cut out an hour or not include an hour. But I guess at least they were able to put it in the TV cut, which was probably, I can only assume, shown on 2 separate nights, maybe back to back, 2-hour presentations, 90 minutes a movie and half hour of commercials, probably 2 nights in a row, I can only assume. But yeah, very, like I say, the actual theatrical cut presentation is amazing, but the thing that actually made me buy this, I might not have bought it if it didn't have that 3-hour long freaking theatrical cut, which, like I say, if you're any kind of fan of this movie, was just fascinating to watch. But anyway, as so often is the case, I think I said that about way too many times. But thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.